Good evening, everybody. My name is Miles Chisholm with the Macross 88 News Network, and today we have breaking news on the new God of War live adaptation that has been in development but not yet greenlit. Now, our boots on the ground reporter, Drippy, has been following this story and has discovered that not only has the showrunner not played the games, but seems to be unable to. Now we have our correspondent Drippy with us here now, and he will explain more of the details. Drippy? Thank you, Miles, for that introduction.
What's going on, pimps? Like Miles said, I have been following this live God of War adaptation for at least 30 minutes, and
Is everything going up okay over there? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. It seems we are having some physical difficulties.
the person who's like making the show hasn't played the game, and that's just like the number one thing with all these like live adaptations, because right now I feel like we're getting less and less just like original TV shows and just more and more like spin-offs or live adaptations, right? Alongside the news of a second season, showrunner Ron Moore gave some unfortunate insight into his gamer cred on Katie Sackhoff's podcast, The Sackhoff Show. He said that he tried to play the God of War games but couldn't get very far because he's not a gamer. Wow, you managed to shit your pants twice. Although I might look the same, I am from the future, and if you're wondering, yes, you are going to shit your pants, but I'm not going to tell you when. I'm from the future again, if you couldn't tell, and I don't know what it is with me covering current events, but I don't know what the correlation is, but you need some adult diapers or something. Anyway, to kind of reinforce the point I was talking about right there, I feel like a lot of new media coming out today really isn't very original from a general standpoint. It's more like I was talking about games being made into live adaptations or spin-offs. And the other thing with Ronald Moore not having played the games, he is a director, so not everything he's probably done in his life, probably even most of the work he's done probably hasn't had to do with video games. So expecting him to kind of get into that, I don't necessarily think we should be as hard on. Furthermore, I think at the very least, I hope he watches it. I hope he watches at least someone else, or just like a no commentary video or stream or whatever of the games being played, so that way he knows the lore at least. And I think one of the saving graces of that piece of information is, later on I'll mention it, but the game director of God of War will be in on the project. So at least from a advisory standpoint, they will have somebody who worked directly and planned this game on the show to help out. But in other cases, though, such as The Witcher and Henry Cavill wanting to be more accurate to the lore, and the showrunners not being very receptive to that, because like they didn't apparently like the lore of the show that they were making, and it's like, why are you here? Why are you making it then? Like, oh, did someone have a gun to your head? Were they going to execute you and your family? Was it like Activision or something? They wanted more money? I feel like that's the worst case scenario, where the people who have the most creative control over the show don't even care for the source material and are like actively not trying to be accurate to the original like source, right? But in this case, as far as what we know, he wasn't really talking about that. He was just saying that he couldn't get into the games, not that he necessarily disliked it. God of War is finally getting a live action adaptation after almost 2 decades of being stuck in development hell. 2 decades? This thing has been trying to go since since 2005? While concrete details are few and far between when it comes to the live action God of War cast and story, there has at least been news about who isn't playing Kratos. I actually remember seeing the lineup for that. It was like 3 big bald buff dudes. Dwayne, The Rock, freaking Jason Momoa. Who is dude? Oh yeah, this guy from Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy was like, if I stand still, they can't see me. The actor himself, though, looks pretty freaking huge. And since he's already got the voice, didn't even know this was happening. Yeah, I saw it on Instagram Reels, and I was like, well, there's like two separate ideas here. If you can't play the games, fine, at least watch it. But then also, if you're not really into it, then why aren't we finding a guy who is? Producers have almost promised that the series will be faithful to the source material too. It will be a long time before a live-action God of War trailer arrives, but with the God of War game director involved, oh, that's good at least, and the budget that Amazon will undoubtedly invest in the God of War series, the show will be worth the wait. Amazon is going hard on their shows with freaking Invincible, and don't they have The Boys too? Because if they can pour the amount of money, because it's become pretty well known that Invincible, they use like a bunch of or a bunch of like well-known celebrities, even for the most minor of roles. Perhaps most interesting of all, Moore let slip that Amazon Prime Video has already ordered 2 seasons of the series, though that's all Moore would say on the subject. I don't like that, and you know what? Future me doesn't like that either, and I'm gonna tell you why. First thing is, if it's in development, I don't know how we're already trying to confirm 2 seasons of a show that hasn't even received money yet. And because this announcement is relatively new, I feel like it's not really too much time to gain audience feedback. It's like in Battlefront 2040. Battlefront 2042. Yeah, you wish. Battlefield 2042, when their beta came out and it was way too close to the actual launch, so even if there were things to fix, they had barely any time to actually do it. And also, if season 1 comes out and that thing blows up bigger than a enlarged prostate of like a 65-year-old man, and a second season has to be made, and then you just end up losing more money, God forbid there's more live adaptations, because it is a thing that's happened before when other projects of similar categories or topics or whatever are being made or planning to come out, when like this headliner show comes out and the headliner falls and sucks more than freaking Bonnie Blue, and then the other ones get canceled because that one did bad, but because we're not like listening, or maybe because it's like showrunner versus game director of God of War not being able to come together creatively and stuff like that. So definitely some more information I think needs to be disseminated to the public before they just kind of go ahead with this. This all depends on like an audience watching it, and of course I think there's an audience for it. It's just excuse me. There's of course an audience for it, but I feel like we make these contracts, we make these agreements, we shake these hands, and we put the money wherever before getting the audience involved and be like, hey, do you guys actually want this? And we're like, we still need some time to decide. We're gonna go ahead and make it anyway. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna fucking hate it. Cool. I'm glad you were listening to me. I'm glad I was heard. I appreciate that. I thank you. Thank you. If you made the announcement beforehand, public reception is good. You haven't reached out and allocated money and signed deals and made agreements and contracts and shook hands yet. And then as you make that announcement, okay, there's interest, people want to see it, and then you kind of go through the rest of the process to see if that would even be worth it from the jump. Moore talked about entering the writer's room and professed his ignorance of gaming in general. I'm not a gamer, so it's even more like, okay, I've never done this before, said the legendary TV maven, though there's little doubt that he'll offer a strong guiding influence. At the very least, he did try. I obviously don't know to what extent. You gotta learn, and I don't know. I want to play the God of War games myself, but I don't know how difficult those games are on like a learning curve kind of scale. Like, do you get in and there's all these like QTEs that you gotta hit in the middle of the battle, like a bunch of combos. Well, I'm pretty sure there are combos and like move sets for that. In development, God of War show is confirmed as in development, but it hasn't been given an official green light yet. So that's kind of what I'm confused about. Like, it's in development, but it's not being. I just don't know. Well, guess who does? Me. Basically, and I looked it up. In development means that they're still forming the idea. They're still writing the script, finding actors and talent, getting writers together, and then when it's been greenlit, that's basically when money starts getting moved. Like I said, agreements start being made, contracts being signed, hands shaken. Oh yeah, and then also when I looked this up on stream, the AI overview, the Windows 64 breakdown of it was. It was in development and then greenlit, and then it like gave us a not greenlit. We wouldn't, like, we couldn't surmise at the very least not being greenlit. That's good. I like that. We're still feeling it out then, and not committing financially. Oh, hey, that lady. That's Katie Sackhoff? How 9/11 attacks push Ron Moore to remake Battlestar Galactica? Oh my god. What? Hold on. We gotta... Wikipedia, the September 11th attacks, commonly known as 9/11, were four coordinated Islamist terrorist suicide attacks by Al-Qaeda against the United States in 2001. Thank you for letting me know. I forgot. Thank you for the clip notes.
Was it about the original Battlestar Galactica that you saw a way through to a different story that you wanted to tell with ours?
It was the 9/11 parallel, because I watched, but it was like, January or February of 2002. And walking into it, I wasn't even thinking along those lines about 9/11. But as I was watching it,
I constantly kept watching 9/11 clips of the planes colliding with the buildings just for the source material. What did that tell me about the show? What did that motivate me to do about the show? I don't really know, but it was definitely part of my motivation for it. Yeah, random 9/11 cameo right there. Big jump scare, right? I know. I know it's off the topic of the God of War thing, but while I was reading about the story, I just happened upon the 9/11 Battlestar Galactica parallel. And actually, the joke is on me, because after I looked it up afterward, I forget if I looked it up on stream or off stream, but apparently he would have put it in there then. Apparently there is terrorism. I think maybe before the whatever he did with Battlestar Galactica, or if not, he introduced terrorism to Battlestar Galactica, which is a pretty fucked up thing to do. I wouldn't have done it. Okay, if I had a franchise that was free of terrorism for the sake of hitting home with viewers, I do not think I would have introduced terrorism. I don't think I would have done that. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the God of War situation. Showrunner, at the very least, Ronald Moore tried to play the games, but he couldn't get into it. I hope he at least watches it. The game director of God of War being there for the show, I also think is great. However, there's still some creative clashes that could happen that hopefully don't, for the sake of the show. Also, I don't like that we're in development, but we've confirmed 2 seasons. I think that can be dangerous as far as like ratings and then future live adaptations that might be made soon thereafter. And yeah.
Thank you, Drippy, for that insightful report into the live God of War adaptation. Now, I'd like to report here that I have successfully defended off the Dark Lord of the Sith. But that'll be all tonight, folks. Tonight, we'll be having Night Groove play you off. Have a good night.
It's not too late to get me.